moving on to Cin and Japs at the movies. I guess I'll take the reins on this. The first movie we're going to be talking about is The Grey.
You right? This will wind up being one of those wild stories you tell at a party. You go. Put it with your hand. All right. Go ahead. Just haul me in if anything goes wrong. Yeah. Come on, you can do this. You can do this.
All right, well, The Grey stars Liam Neeson and a host of other male actors. You'll see a lot of recognizable faces, but I can't think of their names off the top of my head. But it's basically about a guy who's employed in Alaska for some type of corporation, and he's basically a sniper. It's a job to keep the work area around the plant or whatnot safe by killing the wolves in the surrounding area that may decide to pick off human beings. He finds himself on a flight going somewhere in another part of Alaska with a group of men, and the plane crashes. So from that point on, it's about surviving.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah. So what did you think of the movie?
I mean, come to say, I really enjoyed the film, even though that the storyline is very bland.
Yeah.
I think they did a great.
It was very straightforward. Yeah.
It was very straightforward, and basically they did a really great job just making it interesting enough to not bore me as I was sitting there. Like, it didn't bore me at all. Like, I was very into it. I love how they kind of show you clips of his past, but they don't fully go on to explain or give you a complete detailed story of what happened.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they just did a great job with the characters, bringing them together.
Yeah.
Kind of dedicating each one of the characters that got stranded with him like a specific time to see beyond just the superficial part of that character.
Yeah. And I definitely agree with what you said about the whole flashback sequence. I thought the way they unfolded the whole story between him and this woman who, through diaries in the first part of the film, you kind of see that he lost this woman and he can't get back to her. So that's why he's kind of in this place in his life right now.
Very much, he looks very much depressed, very much solitary, a solitary man, but you begin to see how knowledgeable he is over so much that goes on in his life. But I recommend this film. It's a great film. Yeah,
and the thing I really liked about the movie is the fact that, you have these characters trying to survive, and each time one of them is killed or off, I'm not going to say who, obviously, but each time a character goes, they give each death a considerable amount. They give it weight, where it's not just, oh, this guy's dead now. They actually take the time to spend with them, and it just makes it a lot more powerful when there's something substantial to it, which I really like. The one I really want to point out, when they first crashed, there's a guy who's obviously been critically injured, and so he kind of wakes up in a panic, and Liam Neeson comes to him and just calms him down and just is straight up with him saying, "Hey, you're gonna die." He says that just bluntly, "You're gonna die." And he kind of explains to him the process of what's going to happen to him, like his body's going to go warm. And by doing this, he calms the guy down when the guy should be fucking going crazy because he knows he's about to leave this world. So it's it's a pretty amazing scene.
I definitely agree with you. I think that basically what I think makes this movie so strong is how, even though, hopefully, anybody listening hasn't been through a plane crash. And landed somewhere in Alaska in the freezing cold. Yeah. What I think is it's just like it makes you think for a minute, like what would happen if something like that happened to you and how would you go about to surviving? Yeah. And I just think it's so brave and like so terrifying at the same time, everything that could happen to you and us living in the comfort of our own world. How we can go about and just, if something like that were to happen, like what the hell will we do, out there by ourselves like that? Yeah. It's just a very terrifying feeling. And it's just kind of like, even though it might not be relatable to everybody, out here in Chicago in the freezing cold, it's kind of relatable to me without the plane crash, but you know, it's just you tend to think sometimes like, holy crap, what would I do if that happened?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting too much from the film, but I was really surprised as how good it really was.
Yep.
But yeah, and so on to our next film, which is
the next film that I'm talking about is The Woman in Black.
Have we passed Cliff and Gifford yet?
Next stop. So, you're up from London.
I am.
Trying to sell Eel Marsh House. You won't find a local buyer. You staying at the Gifford Arms?
Yes.
It's a bit of a walk from the station. I can give you a lift. It's on my way home.
Thank you.
Now, I love horror movies, and I was very excited when I first saw the previews to this movie. I was not disappointed at all, to say the truth about it. I was very surprised at how the end didn't suck and was cliche and like came out of a mold like every other movie.
Yeah.
It was very, I mean, to a sense, like even when I think about it, maybe to a sense it was, but it didn't feel like that to me. Basically, I'm going to tell you the little scenario. I was at Jason's house up in his room, and we're watching this movie, and he's tired.
The living room
area. And everything's dark. Nobody's talking. It's quiet. I'm laying down on his couch watching the film, and he just falls asleep on my shoulder. And throughout the film, he just starts snoring. Here I am, like with these jumpy scenes, and all of a sudden he starts snoring. So I was scared to half to death, you know, because I keep looking over his room. His door's open, and it's dark, and I keep thinking of somebody walking out there, and I was like, oh God. You know, your experience might have been different. You said you didn't think it was that scary, but I think it's because you had a whole team of 5 people down there while you were watching the movie.
I watched it with my mom and my sister.
Yeah, so you know, it's probably not as effective when you watch it with other people, but I definitely thought that it was scary. The jump scenes were legitimately scary. Like they didn't have like cheap thrills. I thought it was pretty freaking scary.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the way the scares were set up was very elegant, but I wouldn't say I got scared. But maybe it has to do with the fact that, yeah, I was in my living room downstairs watching it with my sister and my mom, but I didn't actually get scared. And then problems I had with the actual film, I didn't think the story was too strong. I did really enjoy the ending because I kind of looked at it in a certain way. I don't want to spoil it, but the ending's kind of beautiful in a screwed up way.
In a sick, twisted way. No?
Yeah, which I hope doesn't give it away, but I definitely appreciated it. I usually always appreciate a movie that goes off the beaten path and actually has a different ending. Something that's very unexpected. It's just something I always enjoy because I just hate when movies end the way you expect them to. Unless I'm actually rooting for it to end that way, then that's a different case. But I don't know. And then the problem I had with the film, which we talked about, Daniel Radcliffe, like fortunately you don't have to see him too much as a father figure, only in the one of the first scenes of the film. But I just couldn't picture him as a father. It was just way too hard to do that. But yeah, that kind of bugged me. Before, when we talked about this, I kept referring to him as Harry Potter, but I'm trying really hard not to refer to him as Harry Potter.
I mean, I think that it's like, you know, you saw this kid grow up on the Harry Potter film. It's going to be hard for a lot of people to see him play serious roles because of the fact that, you know, but come on, like that was probably like his death sentence with that movie. You know, it's just like his whole career is going to be like, oh, you know, people aren't going to remember his name. They're going to be like, oh, that guy that plays Harry Potter. You know, it's just kind of like.
Well, I think he's big enough where you know his name, but
I didn't know.
It's going to be hard. Well, you're not a Potterhead. A Potterhead. That's a funny way. I don't know if I've ever heard Potterhead, but it makes sense. I mean, yeah, you're going to see him like that, but I still think he's a decent actor. He's capable, but I just think at times his acting leaves much to be desired, and you know, I definitely think he's the strongest of the three. Emma Watson and Rupert Grint, I think they're lesser actors, but I guess time will tell to see.
Excuse me,
where their
she is in a perfume bottle. Okay.
No, I mean she's Yeah, she's like a whole model. I guess she's a fashion icon. She's considered a fashion icon.
Lancome. How do you say that brand?
Lancome Betty. Betty.
Calm down, French man.
Lancome Betty.
Anyway.
But yeah. Overall, I was a little bit disappointed in the film. Just because I felt like I don't know.
How can you not think it's?
I just felt like
scary?
The story didn't come together. Like the whole. Like her whole purpose. I mean, I understand her purpose of, like being vengeful because her son.
Well, I couldn't really hear that
passed.
part too well because you kept snoring on my ear. So, I mean, I was trying to shut you up.
I don't know. I just couldn't get a grasp of why it was happening. I couldn't get a grasp of why the people were reacting the way they were when he came to town. It's like, why wouldn't you just be straight up with him? Hey, kids are fucking dying. Whenever people are seeing this woman, their kids are being convinced to commit suicide in one way or another. And why can't you just tell them, dude, just don't go to that house because something bad's going to happen either to you or if you have a kid, it's going to happen to your son. Like, just go back to your son. And there's only one point in the film where this guy's kind of straight up with him. He's like, yeah, you should just, or this woman straight up, just go back to your son. Just be happy. But he obviously doesn't take that advice. And that either is going to end up good or bad for him. But you'll have to see.
Yeah.
So overall, I'll give it a very, very mild recommendation. I gave it a 3 out of 5. What would you give it? I know we didn't give the rating for The Gray.
3.5.
But I thought we would clarify to try to give a better idea of what our actual feelings are in a rating system. So that's Cin and Japs at the movies. Hope you enjoyed it.